Okay. Welcome to the Northampton City Council meeting of January 3rd, 2024. This is the organizational meeting of the 2024 to 2025 City Council. I am City Councilor Mary Ann LaBarge, and I will be presiding. As always, we will convene with a roll call. Roll call, Laura.
Sure. Councilor Dobbs.
Here.
Councilor Elkins.
Here.
Councilor Jarrett.
Here.
Councilor LaBarge.
Here.
Councilor Maori.
Here.
Councilor Moulton.
Here.
Councilor Pastrich-Klemer.
Here.
Councilor Perry.
Here.
And Councilor Rothenberg.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. The first item on the agenda is the election of the council president for the term 2024 to 2025. Once the council president is elected, he or she will assume the position of chair. I'm going to briefly describe the procedure I will follow in accepting nominations. I will begin by opening the floor to nominations. Once all nominations have been received, I will close the nominations. The nominee or nominees, if more than one, will be allowed to make a statement, and city councilors will be offered the opportunity to speak to the nomination. I will then call for a roll call vote, and each city councilor will be asked to state the name of their preferred candidate. Nominations are now in order for the office of council president. The floor is open for nominations. Councilor Elkins.
Thank you, Councilor LaBarge. I would like to begin by nominating Ward 5 Councilor Alex Jarrett for president. And is now an appropriate time to speak a few words, or do we wait?
She could speak, but I don't see why not.
I think we were open with a, what's it,
Well,
plan?
I think that comes after.
The plan was to give the opportunity for whoever's nominated to make statements.
Right.
Okay.
For allow people to speak, but the
Right.
plan could change.
No, that's fine. I will speak to the nomination, but I can.
I will second that nomination.
Okay. Corbley.
I nominate Councilor Maori. I second the nomination.
Any other nominations? That's it. Okay. Councilor Jarrett is nominated. Also, Councilor Maori is nominated. Are there any further nominations? Nominations are closed. To nominee, which is Councilor Jarrett, you are welcome to make a statement.
Great, thank you, Councilor LaBarge. Thank you, Councilor Elkins, for the nomination. I wanted to speak first to this role and what I would bring in it. So I believe the skills and the experience and the discernment, the knowledge of process and the knowledge of the subject matter. So I've served on my time the Housing Partnership, that was actually before I was elected, but also Community Resources, Energy and Sustainability, and the Policing Review Commission. For the last 2 years, I've chaired Legislative Matters, and we've certainly had some contentious meetings during that time, but I try, and I believe that I did, bring a friendly and welcoming presence, and also firm when the rules require it, efficient yet not rushing the matters. I've also attended many other boards and commissions, both to learn and then to advocate for my constituents. I also have 21 years of consensus decision-making facilitation as part of my business, Pedal People, which is a worker cooperative. So in that structure, we come together as a collective, meaning we all meet together and we work to achieve consensus. And that, we don't all, there are times when we can't, but doing that, reconciling different points of view, and having those deep conversations that are necessary to find a good path forward has brought me a lot of experience in trying to find consensus. And coming from that, when I first started, it was a little strange to come into the role in the city council with majority rule. But I'm heartened by how much we do achieve consensus. And I think our decisions are for the better that we take that time to do that. Another thing that I bring is listening and building relationships with all the counselors. I have spent time with all of you and counselors, past counselors as well. And whether or not we agree on every issue, I care about you and helping you to achieve your goals and serve your constituents. And that comes from listening to many viewpoints, not just the loudest ones. And I think running for office, I knocked on every door that I could, and I found that my viewpoints shifted as I talked to more and more people. Because only a small fraction of our constituents actually reach out to us, and so it's very necessary to reach out, and I bring that also to us as a council, to reach out to each person. I also bring communications skills. First, with my constituents, I publish an extensive monthly newsletter that's for Ward 5, but is really, I've been told, very helpful to folks around the city. And also skills with counselors, co-sponsoring, communication with the mayor. I'm comfortable with communication with the media. And I'm in the role as council president, I'm committed to fully communicating the issues before us to make sure that each of us understand the issue, the process that we need to take, what our options are. I also bring a flexibility of time. This job, as many of us know, can be highly variable. Sometimes you're just flat out. You have to work constantly at a job, and then there's times where you have some space. And in my other job, I have the flexibility to adjust to that. All of us bring different skills and experiences and identities, and the two folks that are running bring that. Rachel and I, and so as a white, straight, cisgendered man who is not living with a disability, I think a lot about stepping back. I think that making room for other people to lead. Growing up, I was shy. Stepping up is not the default for me, but I am running now to be of service for the city and the council. I'm stepping forward because I believe, the skills and the judgment and the experience I can offer is what the council needs for this term. I'm also mindful of any unaware sexism, racism, other forms of oppression that I may act out despite my best intentions, and I welcome feedback in whatever role I end up playing. I want us to not forget the urgency of this work. We all ran for a reason. And as president, I will want to help each of you move your work forward, serve your constituents, and support you as leaders. I really appreciated Jim, Councilor Nash's leadership in that he shared leadership broadly, and I bring that as well. Sometimes this work feels like we're pushing an elephant. It feels very slow, but I have found that it does move. For example, serving on the Policing Review Commission, our key recommendation was the division of community care and under the health department. And we see 3 years later that that has happened, that is functional, that is expanding. It's so heartening, even though it's also so frustrating to see sometimes how long real change takes to happen. We all have thousands of constituents, and even more who visit or work here. And if I think about all of the people that I've met since I first started running in 2019, what I ask, what does it mean to care about all of them? As we do this work, which can feel slow, and take each vote, I want us to hold a radical vision of Northampton that actually works for everyone. Northampton is a wonderful city that I love. I'm hopeful about its future. I know that our decisions make a difference. I know that there's also a lot of pain and difficulty for many of us. Financial stress, isolation, homelessness, housing insecurity, workplace fears, there's safety at home, out on the street from harassment, from motor vehicles, COVID, there's war and its effects on us locally, there's a climate emergency, political polarization and oppression. And so many of those things come from way outside of Northampton. But the things that we have influence over, I think, we're not doing well by everyone despite our best efforts. And I'm committed to making sure that everyone is heard and changing what is within our power to change. And it's important that the council understands the power that it has and uses that power. And I know, in my 2 terms, my knowledge has allowed us to move on things that might not have happened without it. I wanted to end with, back in the fall of 2020, I proposed an amendment to an anti-racism resolution that we passed, and I'll quote from that. We have an obligation to advance racial equity by undoing the inequities found in the law and to proactively pass ordinances and make budget decisions that address inequity. And so this amendment helped to guide the ordinance review committee that happened 2 years ago. It's a perspective that I will continue to bring back to the council, not just for racial equity, but for all of those of us who are facing oppression and struggle. I want us as a public body to embody a sense of hope and optimism and possibility and justice. We elect a leader, but we all do this together. And thank you for considering me for the role of council president, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Good. It's your turn next, kid. Okay. Councilor Rachel Maori.
Thank you.
Can you go ahead and speak?
Yes, thank you. Well, first, I want to say that each person here has shown up for our community in a big way, and not in a particularly easy way. And I have so much respect for that. So as you may know, I've been the chair of the Finance Committee for 2 years. I presided over the budget hearings as well as the budget listening sessions, and received lots of positive feedback both from my fellow elected officials and the public that participated. I've also served before that as the chair of the City Council Rules Select Committee, along with Councilor Labarge, who served with me. And that's when I got to do a deep dive into our rules and our structure. And I got interested in how to make our meetings more efficient. I wanted to strike a balance between supporting public engagement, but also respecting our time and the time of the mayor and the department heads who join our meetings. So the outcome of our work is, under my leadership, is that now we have markedly shorter meetings and more efficient meetings while still holding true to our value of public accessibility. We have a majority women identified counselors. That's great. I think in that case, though, it's wonderful to be mindful of it, but it feels, frankly, better to me to have women in actual leadership of the council when you have a majority women, because that is definitely a dynamic that can happen. I'm glad to see so much leadership in Northampton by women, but it's often these types of roles that we kind of preserve for men, even in that situation. So I do appreciate the commitment to address those, but I think there's something about that representation that is important to me, and that's also why I'm here. And I just wanted to also say that as council president, I will, be committed to cultivating and maintaining a culture on council that is collaborative and lifts each other up. I look forward to supporting committee chairs. I regard the council presidency and vice presidency as a dynamic team. Councilors, we will not always agree. And as long as we interact with each other with respect, I think not always seeing eye to eye actually shows thoughtfulness and demonstrates democracy in action and a healthy balance of powers. As I enter my 5th year on council, I can confidently declare that we have an excellent council before us. And I'm excited to go on this 2-year journey with you all. So let's buckle up and get going. Thank you very much.
That's it. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the nominations? Any counselor can speak here if desired. Counselor Elkins.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Labarge. I appreciate very much the opportunity. I appreciate so much that we're all here, and I'm very happy to be in a position to nominate Councilor Jarrett. I do want to start out by saying to all of us, old and new, and I said this in my individual conversations with folks, that one thing that nobody tells us when we sign up for this gig and we get that election and then we go in this, is that the very first thing we do is possibly one of the most challenging, hard, emotional things that we could do, which is do this. And go with people that we like, that we know, that we are professionals and that we're colleagues with, we've worked with in the past, either if we're returning or that we are, looking to establish new working relationships with, and then we go and we do a really hard thing.
That's right.
I'm a little disappointed to say it hasn't been easier the second time around, now that I've got this experience, but for those of you who are new, I know it's hard, and I appreciate that. And the thing I also want to say again, that I have said to some of you and will say again, whatever happens here today, we will do this hard thing, and then we will get to work.
That's right.
And we will continue to work together, and we all have things that we want to work on and that we want to carry forward. And so I do want to reassure everybody, and in part myself, because, is that we will. The hardest thing we do all year, all term, is this. But with that, I want to say that Councilor Jarrett has earned my support, and my nomination, and my reasons for that are just very simple, is that he, and I would also say, not to the exclusion of anybody else that's running, or in opposition to anybody else that's running, but I find Councilor Jarrett to be incredibly hardworking. The level of preparation that I see Councilor Jarrett, bring to the table, not just for himself, but for everything, and also the work that I saw Councilor Nash do as president really made me see and understand that that we all depend on the council president to be prepared ourselves in a way that I have a great deal of confidence that Councilor Jarrett is ready to do and will be great at. There's tremendous attention to detail, and that I have seen over and over again that Councilor Jarrett has just knows this council's rules and procedures as well as he just knows them cold. So he's always the person, we're always looking to Councilor Jarrett to say what's next and what is, what should we be doing? And are we doing this right? I think I might have gotten a little bit of a reputation for being somebody who is, well, I've always said this, I care very much about efficient meetings, I care about productive meetings, and that could come off, and I understand that might come off to some folks as like I'm always in a rush or I'm in a hurry. That really isn't it. Why I feel so strongly about that and how we treat this time is not because our time is more precious or valuable as elected people or the prestige of this prestige such that it is of this position. It's because of open meeting law and because of those constraints. This time, the time that we have together, is precious in that regard. It is our opportunity for the 9 of us to speak and to speak freely and amongst ourselves. We can talk as much as we want to whomever we want outside of meetings about whatever we want. But that is not the case for us. And so and for as long as we want. That's not the case for us. So we are here during this time, and so that makes our deliberation time, the time that we have to have our questions answered by department heads, by the mayor's office, and of each other when we have respective positions, different positions, that this time is the only time we have for that. And I have, in the course of legislative matters meetings in particular, and in other opportunities, I've been able to see just what Councilor Jarrett said about himself. I think that's truly accurate, which is that he runs meetings in a way that really encourages, public participation where there's time and space for that, but also values the time that we have to work together in this limited space. I also want to say that I find Councilor Jarrett to be scrupulous and conscientious. I think it's very important to note that the reason that I can say that with such confidence is because we, probably more than any other councilor, get to see that in action, which is to say, we know that Councilor Jarrett has a particular conflict that means that he has to step out of certain budget discussions. That's a real consideration. That's important. But what it also tells us is that I know from how I've seen Councilor Jarrett deal with that is that he works closely with Attorney Seawald to understand what the limits and the roles are and what he must do to comply. If anything, he does more than what is required in terms of dealing with that conflict, and that he just handles it so gracefully. And so it is a very valid consideration. It is a very important thing that we all know that it is something that we have to deal with with Councilor Jarrett in that role. But I am very confident that that is, well within what he's prepared to deal with, and that for us to be able to deal with as a body. So. I would just close by saying I haven't agreed with Councilor Jarrett on every issue. We voted differently on certain things, but this role is about how productive and efficient and how well we're able to do our work for the next 2 years, and that where there are areas of agreement, he works with people, he partners with people, and he reaches across, and where there is disagreement, that we get through that smoothly and with grace and so forth. So I feel very confident about that. So Councilor Jarrett, he's earned my support, and that's why I nominated him, that's why I'm voting for him, and I do urge my fellow councilors to join me in that. So.
Travelling.
I really appreciate that Rachel has always been a voice of grace, a voice of conscience, and a voice of courage. And that is what I'm looking for in the City Council president. I'm looking for someone who is inviting to the public, inclusive of them, and someone who is not afraid to maintain a healthy boundary between the council, the legislative branch, and the mayor, the executive branch. I need a president who has a proven track record of saying something that is not in perfect harmony with the mayor, even when it is the hardest, because our job is to be a check and balance. And since we had the wonderful good fortune of not being bound by open meeting law prior to being sworn in, there was plenty of discussion over a long period of time about who we would be voting for. It comes down to a 4-4 and one swing vote, no matter how you cut it. That's a very close race. I want to think about it. And for that reason, I'm raising a charter objection.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the nomination?
I think we need to pause.
Huh?
We have to, organizational. This is a good challenge for us.
I'm going to have to remind myself what that is.
Take a recess.
Charter.
and Look this up.
Well, I'm looking it up as.
I actually have the,
I think it postpones the vote, but I'm.
is it an organizational meeting?
Counselor Jarrett would be the best answer.
Is it an organizational meeting that considered a? Let's see.
I'm looking for it in the charter, but now
Yeah.
is it actually?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. I had to update it with our new rules because when I first came on council, we had that the old rules.
Regretting that Attorney
I
Sewell
didn't
couldn't
hear
be
what her
present.
question was.
She said she's making a charter objection. So we're looking it up to see if it applies to this organization. How sick is he?
Yeah,
Call him on the phone.
Well,
Well. I personally want to take that
That's my big
responsibility, but.
On the first occasion that the question on adoption of a measure is put to City Council, if a single member present objects to the taking of a vote, the vote shall be postponed until the next meeting of the City Council, whether regular or special. If 2 members present object, such postponement shall be until the next regular meeting. If it is an emergency measure, at least 4 members must object. This procedure shall not be used more than once for any specific matter notwithstanding an amendment for the original matter. A charter objection shall have privilege over all other motions but must be raised prior to or at the call for a vote by the presiding officer, and all debate shall cease. So I guess we'll come back tomorrow and do this?
That would be the next regular meeting, yeah.
Wait a minute.
so it's not on the agenda tomorrow. It hasn't been posted.
so we'd have to wait to,
It would have to be reposted, and, which requires 2 business days. And so likely it would be next week sometime. But I would suggest that we call Solicitor Seawald if he's able to be reached, just to confirm
I would
his
highly-
opinion.
Right now?
the,
Okay, let me get
that would
him.
be the, well, unless we have a special meeting, that would be the 18th. But I suppose,
Right, we can, unless two members were to object, it could be at a special meeting.
Right. We've talked about this for years.
It's never happened.
Did you never used?
Never happened.
Should we recess briefly to call him, or should I make a call?
Yes, move for recess.
I will second that.
That's a very, Councilor Labarge would decide about a recess and its length.
Yes, I've asked for recess.
Right, you want me to do it?
We're asking for a recess so we can call, solicit you all.
Yes, I call for a recess, Laura.
Thank you.
Make it an hour.
Let's recess, yeah. We're at Packard's.
I mean, I don't know if I should put him on speaker and have someone join you.
Like the fawn?
Good evening. This is Councilor Mary Ann Labarge. We have run into a situation this evening where our council clerk, Laura Kutzler, had to get in contact with our city solicitor. So she will relay the message about what we are going to be doing with the process this evening.
Okay.
Laura, thank you.
Well, as before we recessed, a charter objection was raised to the vote to elect a council president. So with a charter objection, when a charter objection is raised, it's necessary to postpone the vote to either a regular or a special meeting. We've contacted the city solicitor for advice, and he has advised us that it would be possible to put the election of chair, or council president and vice president on tomorrow night's regular meeting agenda, even though we're now within the 48-hour posting deadline, since the charter objection was not something that reasonably could have been foreseen at the time of posting. He believes it's permissible to take it up at tomorrow night's meeting. So that is what we're going to do for the election of both officers, president and vice president. And he has advised us to just continue with the rest of the agenda on the organizational meeting this evening. And he was going to come on and say this himself. I don't know if we'll actually hear from him. He's was unable to join the meeting today.
Right. Thank you so much, our council clerk. Well, I guess
So we'll
call the end of it.
Well, I think we move on to the next item on the agenda. We're going to continue on with his
Which one?
recommendation. So let me pull up the agenda. It's appointment of the Enrollment Committee.
Yeah, we could do that.
You asked for volunteers. Yeah.
We know Attorney Sebald is sick.
Councilor Labarge?
So
Are
you're
we gonna be
ask
doing the-
volunteers for the Enrollment Committee? You're going to ask, you'll ask council?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Appointment of the Enrollment Committee for 2024 through 2025. Do we have any volunteers?
What would explain?
Councilor Moulton.
I volunteer. This is,
You need to
you need,
explain what,
yes, Councilor Labarge, you might want to explain that you're looking for a two-person enrollment committee and what it does.
We need 2 counselors. Or is anyone else interested in the enrollment plan?
I would do it. I would volunteer as well.
Thank you, Councilor Perry. Okay.
Councilor Labarge? Councilor Labarge,
Yes.
if I may. The council president decides on the enrollment committee, so I imagine this could change depending on who if it seems permissible for the presiding officer in lieu of a council president to make that decision, then that would.
See?
we do have a council president, and it can always change. I mean, it can change all the
And-
time, so.
And it can change at the time of the meeting, so
Yeah.
that, I mean.
That's
without
correct.
being on the agenda, as far as I know, so that is something that
That's-
could be done tomorrow night. It's just occurring to me.
I think so.
Well, it could. But she
Definitely.
is presiding tonight. so
Right, so, yeah.
There's nothing legally wrong with doing
No,
it tonight.
absolutely not.
And it's not because of that, it's not on the agenda tomorrow, I feel.
True.
I think we should probably do it tonight.
Do it tonight, okay. So we have Councilor Perry, who's volunteering, and Councilor Moulton.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Yeah. Okay, next is what? A format for city council meetings?
24.001, in order to adopt city council rules.
Oh, yeah, I see that one. In order to adopt city council rules for 2024 through 2025.
Could I And the rules are just those that were in place for the last council session. The only changes were, if you scroll down under public comment, I did make some red line changes. These were all the changes that were discussed and unanimously agreed to by the prior council. I can review them if need be, but so if you wanted to adopt it as amended.
And we can always change it.
Yes, but it was simply to add under public comment that members of the public may address the council for a period of up to 2 minutes instead of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And to say that, and during committee meetings, this period may be extended or reduced at the discretion of the presiding officers. And it was to add the case of individuals with speech-related disabilities to people who would be granted extra time, 4 minutes instead of 2. And the final change was to clarify that it's only during public comment itself that counselors are not able to respond to comments. So.
Counselor Atkins.
I would move to approve as amended.
Second.
Attorney Seawald's calling back. I think he's having.
vote. It's a voice.
Hi, Attorney Seawald.
All set?
Oh, okay. Don't worry. You know what? I think I explained and they accepted my explanation. So, and we've gone ahead and proceeded. So. Oh. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
This is crazy.
Yeah. Right. So I'm, in which, okay, one second. Well, the attorney is telling me that after he's had more time to look at it, he believes this is an action that should not have been subject to a charter objection, that the charter objection should only apply to matters which the council adopts. And in this case, the election of an officer is not something adopted by the council. So I think he's now of the opinion that it does not apply, in which case I assume it could be ignored. Okay, well, I just relayed that. So now, well, so you think we're free to just express your opinion that, it doesn't apply to the, the passcode, of course. I'm going to give him the passcode. Let's see. If anyone else has it quicker than me.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
662.
You know what, it's something new, the new settings that require the passcode, it's new. But it's, well, if they have the agenda, the passcode is at the top of the agenda, so it is available. Yeah, well, you're not usually prompted for it. But anyways, it's 662877. Yes. Okay. He's joining our meeting. So, all right. Okay, let me. So I'm assuming you don't have to vote to recognize him.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm not hearing anybody. Hang on for a second. Okay, go.
Sounds awful.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Hi. So, I'm happy to join you, however, briefly. Let me just say that I've had, as you know, very little time to look at the provisions of our charter. And in the few minutes that I've had, I've been looking at the charter objection provisions which speak in terms of the adoption, any matter, the adoption of a measure, and the charter speaks of election of officers, not adoption of officers. It speaks to an election, and I don't believe that elections are measures within the meaning of the charter objection section, because it's an election and not an adoption of an order.
Okay.
What does he want us to proceed? Does he want us to wait tomorrow, or does he want to?
So are we able then to just simply proceed with the election of the officers?
My advice to the presiding officer would be to rule the charter objection on the election out of order.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do I say?
So you're just going to rule that the charter objection is out of order?
Out of order? Okay, I'm going to rule that the charter objection is out of order, so we will proceed.
Thank you, Attorney Seawald.
Now we need to get...
Counselor Large?
Yes.
We are in the middle, though, of the adoption of the council rules.
Yeah, okay.
So that could either be withdrawn, and then we could go back, or we could finish and then go
I'd like
back.
to do the nominations and get those over with and come back to this. How does that sound, councilors?
So do you have to just withdraw the motion?
Or do you want to do the
I'd
council?
withdraw the motion.
I withdraw the second.
Okay. I'll make a motion to draw it. Yes, Carberry.
So when I made the charter objection, I was in the middle of supporting Rachel Maori. So can I pick up there? Did she hear that? When I made the charter objection and we paused the proceedings, I was in the middle of making my supportive comments for Rachel Maori. So I'd like to pick up there if we're going back to the election of officers. Okay. So as I said, when we discussed this before open meeting law applied to it, before we were sworn in, it was really not even 4-4 with a swing vote. It was 5-4 in favor of Rachel. And if anyone feels that they've been influenced by people with wealth or the mayor, I strongly urge them to consider the values that originally had them in favor of Rachel Maori, which included, for some, that she was a woman, for some, that she has been a strong supporter of them through drafting joint legislation together, for some, that she included the public when she was chairing committees. She was a trailblazer in that, in having citizens participate from the floor. And again, as I said, for most of us, it was her courage, grace, and we really wanted Alex to be her supporting vice president because we really appreciated how meticulous he is, how analytical and thoughtful he is, and how well they collaborate together. And we really liked that ideal combination of strong leadership with very good supporting roles. So I urge us all to think about the roles of president and the roles of vice president, and when they're collaborating, what gives us the best possible outcome. And I think Rachel is the one who's going to invite our public in, and also who we're going to be able to follow. I mean, she's really wearing her heart on her sleeve in a way that's never aggressive or confrontational, and you're never aggressive or confrontational either. But she's never afraid to just say plainly and quietly and kindly exactly how she feels, popular or unpopular. And in a council where we need 6 out of 9 votes to overcome a mayoral veto on any matter, we need a leader that we really can follow with ease. And Rachel and Alex together would just be an ideal combination of both of their strengths. So I urge you, on behalf of your constituents, heed the part of our charter that says the city council is supposed to give the voters the benefit of having the strongest use of our power. They're entitled to that. Our constituents are entitled to us being the most independent, powerful council that we can be. And I'm convinced that we can get to that 6 of 9 whenever we need it with that combination of president and vice president. And I'll pass the mic.
Councilor Moulton.
I just remind my colleagues that currently we're considering nominations for president. The two votes are separate. And I appreciate very much that both Councilors Jarrett and Maori have been willing to step up to assume this leadership role, which is critically important for not only our council, but for our relationship with the executive branch and for the entire city. And I respect both of you. When I look at potential for leadership, I look at the totality of the experience and the values that a person would bring to that position of leadership. And the reason that I'm supporting Councilor Jarrett are numerous. During his 25 years in Northampton, he's proven to be a successful entrepreneur as a co-founder and current worker-owner of the Pedal People Cooperative, which is a business committed to sound environmental practices with values that match the city's goals in meeting the climate crisis. Through his work at Pedal People, he also has developed very effective skills in building consensus. He is a strong proponent for social and economic justice, workers' rights, often framing issues around their impact on the growing wealth gap in this community, state, and nation. He's driven by a sense of inclusion in his positions on issues including affordable housing, transportation, education, and public safety. He's committed to making certain that the most marginalized people in our community have a voice at the table. On issues crossing ward boundaries, such as traffic calming, safety for pedestrians and bicyclists, as well as motorists, I have observed how committed Councilor Jarrett is to serving not only his constituents in Ward 5, but also residents of all the neighborhoods. I've worked most closely with Councilor Jarrett on the Committee on Legislative Matters, which he chaired during the past 2 years. As chair, he was efficient in making sure that issues were defined clearly and that recommendations were reached thoughtfully after an inclusive decision-making process. Most recently, that was evident as he led a joint 2-night public hearing over the course of about 6 hours with the Planning Board on the complicated and highly technical complete revision of the outdoor lighting ordinance that we as a body will soon be voting on. He did that very efficiently, but making sure that all the issues were understood and were clarified during the course of that hearing, and that everyone who wanted to address that was heard. Councilor Jarrett demonstrates an encyclopedic knowledge of the council rules and always clearly communicates his reasons for a particular vote. His experience, his skills, and values show me that not only will he be an effective leader of the City Council, but he will be a strong voice for the council and is well prepared to serve as acting mayor if that becomes necessary. That's why I support Councilor Jarrett, and that's why I urge you to join me in that support. Thank you.
Debbie.
I think both candidates. Right. Oh, thank you. I think both candidates bring a lot of strengths to this position, and I think we would be well led by either one of you. And I thank you both for running. I plan on voting for Rachel because I've worked with her over the last 7-8 years, organizing rallies and marches and various other things, events in the community. And one of Rachel's greatest strengths is bringing people together. She's led marches for thousands of people, and they've all been very peaceful. She has a knack for bringing a group of organizers together to make things happen. And we've been in a lot of very, very, very stressful situations, and she's always calm and clear-headed and works with people to find a resolution. So I think that's a great strength to have as the president. So.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Perry?
Yes. So first, I want to agree with Councilor Elkins in that this is the hard work. This is the hard part. But we will get through this. There's a number of reasons why I support Alex Jarrett for president. And one is that mainly that he's earned my vote. I've watched how he's moved. I know that his work ethic is almost unmatched here. His efficiency, we've even seen it a little bit even in this meeting that, his knowledge of the rules, his knowledge of this body is inspiring. When I look to someone for questions about what's happening, often I turn my head over that way. I think that also Alex has a great temperament. Some of the things that we deal with are hard issues, and Alex has always been very contemplative about things. He has stepped up and stated his goals, but also knows that he is representing his ward and the greater community of Northampton, and I respect that. Anyone who knows me knows that I often say how I feel, and I'm very straightforward. I am not a fan of performative politics. We are here to do a job, and I think that Alex will do that job very effectively. He has a willingness to listen, even as you said earlier, like going around and walking and knocking on doors for all of his constituents. He's able to listen, to adapt, but also he's principled and stands strong, and will not back down or be swayed by a few voices. This job, something that no one told me, is that we're representing a lot of people, and sometimes only a few people get through. The people who are contacting us are a small majority or minority sometimes of people. And I've watched Alex, and I know that while he takes in all of their opinions, he is willing to make the hard decisions. And unfortunately, I cannot say that about everyone, and so. For me, that is very important, knowing that, especially as we're going into a term where we're going to have to deal with a bunch of hard decisions, whether it's the Main Street redesign, whether it's looking at other financial issues. We're going to need someone who can help lead us and help build those coalitions that are needed. One thing I've noticed about being a counselor is that communication is key. There's a lot of talk about not feeling heard, and Alex is an example of a stellar communicator. His newsletter is the standard bearer. It's not, I find myself looking at it and finding stuff, we're in the same meetings, but the way that Alex is able to explain it in detail, but also in an approachable manner, I think is very important, especially as we handle some of these issues. It's just, for me, a quality that I think moving forward will be great for the city. And if you have not read his newsletters, I highly recommend checking them out. The other thing I want to say about Alex is that I've watched him and his willingness to step back for others. When we were in this position last term, I know that Alex was thinking of running for council president. He even talked about this in his newsletter, but he did step back to give room to other folks. And I think it means a lot that now he's willing to step up, and it's a hard thing for him to do that. And so I think that this opportunity, and I think Alex has thought a lot about it, and I've talked to him, it feels like the right time for him to do this and step up. And I know that if it wasn't the right time, he would back away. And again, I think that watching the way that Alex is able to run meetings with not only efficiency, but also, a little bit of humor and the things that he brings is really inspiring to me. So I want to throw my wholehearted, loud support into Alex for president.
Okay. I have to say that I have worked with Councilor Moriori ever since she got elected. And we've worked tirelessly together. But I also have to say that even with Councilor Jarrett, him and I have worked together between 5 and 6 on Florence Road, Pertsmouth Road, down the line, plus the fact I could call him and he calls back. And to me, that is very, very critical. And if I can recall, Councilor Moriori, where you mentioned to me about how critical it is when you call somebody and they don't call you back. Those were the words that you told me a couple of days ago, and that is critical. And I have to say, anytime that I called Councilor Jarrett, he calls back. And that means a lot to me. I think the communication is very, very valuable. We've come a long way. And even today, with the calls that I got, I thought Rachel told me she had 5 votes. That's what was in my head, that you had 5 votes. I received several calls today, and Councilor Jarrett knows one of my residents very, very well, Patty Healy, and she looked up your website big time, and I believe in my campaign manager. And we didn't have a 5-minute talk, let me tell you. She said that she had talked with you about the unions and so forth. She was very pleased with that. And also, many other issues that business people write down the line. And also with MMA and with the nurses and so forth. And I told Patty how your wife is a nurse also, and she didn't know that. But Patty said she felt that you were very, very strong. And the many other people I talked with today who know you. Another resident of mine on Lady Slipper Lane, very reputable in this city, talked of you, of how you would represent us as city councilors and the city. He really had a lot of respect for you. I have to say, I had a feeling always that it would be great if we had a woman come here and sit. And I've told Rachel that too, as a council president. Today I've been hearing, you know, we need to forget about that. We need to look at the individual, okay? Who is going to be that council president? Who is that person that's going to be strong to lead us all in the right direction? And that's how they felt today about Councilor Alex Jarrett. And I have to say, that has changed my mind about just placing a woman somewhere here and there. Yes, I agree about going out and going out for women's rights and so forth, Deborah, but this is altogether different. This is somebody that's going to run our city council and somebody who's going to lead us in the right direction. We're going to be able to communicate very, very thoroughly. I really do like Councilor Jarrett, and I also like Councilor Rachel Muir very, very much. There's no question about it. But I find Councilor Jarrett to be fair, very, very even-tempered, and that's very valuable, and smart, and understands business, even though his business is very small, which was a very big concern of mine when I met with Councilor Jarrett, of owning and being a co-op or a business owner with that business that you have. And you explained to me very thoroughly what your business contained. And that meant a lot to me. And I think it means a lot to other people too, thinking when you're under a city contract that they felt that a council president, being a co-owner, should not be council president. Then when I heard from you, very valuable, things changed. And not realizing how small of the business that you're operating. And I feel as a council president, which you do have to go ahead, and you would have to recuse yourself, the next vice president can step in and take over on that part. of that financial part. So, anyways, you've suggested that yourself also. You and I talked about that. No matter who was a president and if they owned a business or so forth, that a vice president could come in and take over one part of where that counselor could not. Or maybe it was Marissa Elkins, Counselor Elkins, that you brought that to my attention. Right, it was you. Yep.
I certainly understand that that's the case, that
Right.
that's what happens in
Makes sense.
recusal.
You know, so anyways, that is why I am voting for Counselor Jarrett. And it has nothing to do about being a woman and placing a woman up here. It's working with him also, which I have. But I have to say, I've worked with you more. And your time will come. So I do support Counselor Jarrett. So that's it. Anybody else?
And I just want to say for the record that I do object to Attorney Seawald interpreting a vote or other proceeding that may be adopted to mean that any vote cannot sustain a charter objection. So I just leave that there in case it's ever revisited, as I also have been seeking legal advice through this.
Okay, are we all set?
Yep.
If there's no further comments, we will have a roll call. I want you to please state the name of your choice for the council president when your name is called.
Okay. Counselor Dobbs,
Councilor Maori,
Counselor Elkins,
Counselor Jarrett?
Counselor Jarrett,
Counselor Jarrett.
Counselor Labarge,
Counselor Jarrett,
Counselor Maori,
Counselor Maori.
Counselor Moulton,
Counselor Jarrett.
Counselor Pastrich Kleemer,
Counselor Maori.
Counselor Perry,
Counselor Jarrett?
and Counselor Rothenberg.
Abstain for the reasons previously stated.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 votes for Counselor Jarrett and 1, 2, 3 for Counselor Maori with 1 abstention.
okay, one exemption.
1 abstention.
Who was that? I didn't.
Counselor Rothenberg.
Okay.
So
All right. So, Counselor
So
Jarrett.
Counselor Jarrett. is
All right.
elected.
The new council president of the Northampton City Council is Counselor Alex Jarrett. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the new council president assumes the position of chair. You can have it.
Thank you all.
Does he have a paper? He's got to proceed with the vice president.
welcome back. So welcome back.
Oh, I don't need that.
Here, I can help.
And Mary Ann, you need your placard back. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I know that there were, it was a split vote. It was a there's objection, and I recognize that and respect that. So we will move on to the election of a city council vice president for 2024-2025. And we will follow the same procedure. So we'll take nominations first, then the candidates can speak, and then we will, we can hear from everyone who wishes to comment on it. So, accepting nominations, Councilor Elkins.
I'd like to nominate Garrick Perry.
Councilor Labarge.
Yes, I would like to nominate Rachel Mayor as vice president.
And I will second that. Not that a second is actually required for a nomination, by the way, but I know people did that before. Are there any other nominations for the role of vice president?
Yes. Yes, I am. While I am nominated, I would also like to nominate Councilor Marissa Elkins.
Councilor Marissa Elkins is nominated. Are there any other nominations for vice president? All right. I believe that Councilor Perry was nominated first. Councilor, would you like to speak to the nomination? Don't forget your microphone. Okay.
Yeah. So, first, I'm very humbled to be nominated. And one thing I just have to bring up is that this whole process seems to have been fraught with things that are troubling to me. And the first thing is, I've been thinking about how we got to this place, how, while there were not open meeting laws that we were violating, there was a new council orientation that happened with some of the newer councilors, and none of the existing councilors were a part of those proceedings. I think that was a chance to really unify, to bring in people together, and it did the opposite. It felt very exclusive. It felt very presumptive that two councilors or two people could help guide or come up with a orientation for folks without even relying on either the longest standing member or other people who have served. I think that the people who organized it were not able to even see how uninclusive it was. And so the reason why I will accept, I'm even speaking, is that I do not think that the two people who had the orientation should be president and vice president together. I think that there should be a counterbalance to the people who were organizing that. I think that, as Quaverly said, we need people who are willing to step up and say things. Hopefully people who, again, know me know that I always am willing to speak my mind and to provide that. While I was not prepared for as much of a nomination, I do think it's important to have another option. And during this process, it seems like it was presented that there was only two people who were worthy or willing to be leaders, and that was Rachel and Alex. And so, I pushed back against that. In terms of why I think that I could do the job, is that the thing that I've loved about City Council is learning. I've been intentional with my talks with other councilors, is that I really want this term for me to expand some of my knowledge. I think that while I have a focus on certain things, whether it's service industry or entertainment and our downtown nightlife, I am looking forward to learning more. And if I was the vice president, I really look forward to learning under someone who has an encyclopedic knowledge of the rules and regulations. I also think that in terms of communication, I do well helping to bridge barriers and gaps. I often lead with my heart, but I'm willing to accept when I'm wrong and try to learn from those things.
Thank you, Councilor Perry. The next person nominated was Councilor Maori.
Yeah, hi. Oh, I've already taken up, I said my piece earlier when I was bidding for president, but what I will say is that the role of vice president especially post-COVID, has become, more central, and that in this complex world, and if we continue with hybrid meetings, I think you really do need a dynamic team to have the best council, and you need a president and a vice president that can work well together. And so it's a role that's more front and center than it may have been in the past, with the technical issues of hybrid meetings, the policy issues, the issues of, Zoom bombing Nazis. So I think you definitely need a team that can work well together, and I know Alex works hard, and I work very hard for this council, and I would be pleased to serve you in this way. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilor Elkins.
I thank you, Councilor Perry, for the nomination. I know many of you know that I was looking specifically for serving in this way, was how my I began the conversation and began thinking about how I might be able to best serve this council in this next term. And that has, that remains the case. This is definitely not a glory position at all. It is about the work, and it is about helping the president, the council president, which I'd be very happy to do with Councilor Jarrett. I can say that I don't have as much. We only have this term, but we've worked together in legislative matters. I was Councilor Jarrett's vice chair on legislative matters, and we are working on some things. We have a shared passion on zoning issues and reform issues around housing and city planning and those kinds of things, and we've been able to, so I know that we partner well. And so I would just say, I'm ready to do the work to assist this council, to assist Councilor Jarrett, and I, remain available to do that. So I would be happy for anybody's support who can, see me that role. And the other thing, I guess I would also say, it is, because of the recusal issue, it is important. It isn't a glory role at all, but whoever is in that role is going to be presiding during those moments. I do think that I do run an efficient meeting, that I am able to efficiently move through agenda items. I don't think, for the reasons I said before when I was speaking about Councilor Jarrett, that is an insurmountable or anything that we won't get through gracefully, and I think that'll be true whoever's vice president, but I feel particularly well equipped to handle that part of the job. So I, for those reasons, would be very happy to have you vote.
Thank you. So now we'll take, if there's folks who want to speak to the nominations. Don't all jump in at once. Councilor Moult?
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. Well, again, I appreciate both Councilor Elkins and Perry stepping up, being willing to step up and joining Councilor Maori in being willing to serve in a leadership position. I'm going to support Councilor Elkins. I think that the deciding factors for me are her experience with the planning board. There is a relationship between the council and the planning board on a number of issues, primarily around zoning, and I think that her experience in that realm is very valuable as we proceed with initiatives around housing, for example. I think it's important also that in 2020, Councilor Elkins, before she was on the City Council, co-chaired the Yes for Northampton committee that advocated for the Proposition 2.5 override. and she has a steadfast commitment to the fiscal stability measures that have been taken in recent years that I also feel are very important. I think that, and she's demonstrated in 2 runs for at-large counselor over the past 2 elections that she has strong support throughout the city. So for those reasons, I will support Councilor Elkins for Vice President.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to the nominations? Well, I can go ahead. There's no one else. So, you know, we have 3 great choices here. I really appreciate all that Councilor Elkins, Councilor Perry, and Councilor Maori bring. I'm very much looking forward to continuing to work with you and you and you in whatever capacity. I did also want to speak to Councilor Perry's concerns around the orientation that we did, that Rachel and I did take the initiative on. We did bring in the council president, former council president Jim Nash, so there were 3 councilors. And in my private conversations with folks, I do have regret that I did not seek the input of other counselors, and I will take that to heart in the future. There were certainly concerns around open meeting law and whether we'd have to post a meeting and whether that would be comfortable for the new counselors to be in a posted meeting, and would they be able to ask all the questions. But there was never an intention to exclude. It was an intention to educate, and I will take that though to heart in the future. So to speak more to the nominations, I'm going to be supporting Councilor Maori. For 4 years, we have been working well together. I value your experience chairing, 2 years chairing the Finance, and then before that, the Rules Committee. Your strong interest in public participation, for example, the budget listening sessions, which happened under your tenure, and your communication, your drive, your commitment. And I'm look forward to working with you if you're elected. I do want to now put it out, if there's folks who haven't spoken, I encourage you to. Councilor Rothenberg.
Hey, I just want to say to any of the long-standing counselors who felt left out, from our perspective as new counselors, I don't think we got to spend any more time with any of them than we did with you. I know that I had a great bagel with you, and I had a great breakfast with you and Stan, and so on and so forth. You and I met way back, maybe April or March. You certainly know how to reach me, but I don't fault you at all for taking the initiative and doing all that prep to just give us a mock meeting, and I really appreciate that, and I bet you regret teaching me about the charter objection and not teaching me with more specificity so that we didn't have to spend some time on that earlier. But, I see no harm, no foul, and I certainly appreciate the different ways that everyone reached out to new counselors and made time for us and welcomed us on board, and we're happy to be here.
Any other counselors, especially those who haven't spoken? Okay, seeing none, we will proceed to the vote. Again, you say when you're called, say the name of the person that you would like to vote for.
Councilor Elkins.
Councilor Elkins. Sorry.
Councilor Jarrett.
Councilor Maori.
Councilor Labarge.
Councilor Rachel Maori.
Councilor Maori.
Councilor Maori.
Councilor Moulton.
Councilor Elkins.
Councilor Pastridge Cleamer.
Councilor Maori.
Councilor
Counselor Perry,
I'm going to go with Counselor Elkins.
Counselor Rothenberg,
Counselor Maori.
and Counselor Dobbs.
Counselor Maori?
So Counselor Maori is our new Vice President. Congratulations, Vice
Thank you
President
very
Maori.
much. I'm honored, thank you.
How's everyone doing?
Doing good.
All right, let's keep going. We will go back to the appointment of the Enrollment Committee. We did that, but now that we have a council president, I would be happy to just say that I am happy to accept Counselor Perry and Counselor Moulton as the Enrollment Committee.
Point of information, what is the Enrollment Committee?
Question. So after every order, ordinance, and resolution is voted on by us, the administrative assistant signs to say it passed, if it passed, and then the enrollment committee also signs to say, yes, this is what happened at our meeting today. And it's part of the legislative process just to ensure, it's like a double check on it. And then it goes to the mayor. That has to be done within 3 days for those items that then need to go to the mayor, where the mayor can then decide on a veto if that's relevant. So moving on then, 24.001, an order to adopt city council rules. And we began that discussion. And so we will need a motion. Councilor Elkins.
I again move to adopt the rules as amended.
And I again second.
Motion made by Councilor Elkins, seconded by Councilor Moulton. So discussion on these rules as amended. Councilor Rothenberg.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the part of our rules where we adopt Robert's rules, but if it is at some point in the future, I'd be interested in revisiting that because lots of my constituents think that we should modernize that. But for today, I have no problem going with the rules as they are, and no problem with the amendments.
Thank you. Just to speak to that, there is a the Roberts rules are in Rule 1.3. We have precedents. So the City Council meetings shall conform to parliamentary practices as set forth in the rules of the City Council. The procedures defined in the most current version of Roberts Rules of Order will resolve questions not addressed by the Council rules. So I look forward to looking at that in the future with you. Other questions or comments on the council rules? I will, go ahead, Councilor Mayor.
Just a point of maybe clarification for the new counselors. So just so you know, at any point during council business, during these 2 terms, you can bring specific changes and suggestions for council rules, and they can be adopted. And, you know, so this isn't like the only chance to amend or talk about the rules. It's good to have a very specific suggestion and bring that forward, and we've done that. And, you know, I felt like we landed in a great place at the end of the Rules Committee, but this is almost like a living document in the sense that our public changes, our council changes, and I think it's really a good practice to look at them with new eyes periodically and think about what can we do better, how can we be more efficient? So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll speak to the rules that I think there are, and Laura has been keeping track of a number of housekeeping changes. There are places where the rules like contradict each other, and so I think there'll also be time for councilors to bring forward those changes that will hopefully make things a little clearer. Councilor Elkins.
I also dream of renumbering and relettering and just genuinely putting it in a standard format.
Yeah.
This kind of rule or ordinance or whatever. So I dream of it.
Good. So we'll move on, or if there are no more questions, then we'll take a vote on it. And this is a item where we can since we're all here in person, and it's not a financial order, and there's one other, a zoning ordinance or an ordinance, then we're able to do a voice vote. So we say, I'll say, all in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed or any abstentions? So that passes, the rule changes have to pass by a 2/3 vote. So that passes unanimously. And 24.001, in order to adopt city council rules for 24-25 has passed unanimously. So we move on to the format for the city council meetings. So we're allowed to do either the hybrid model, a mix of hybrid and remote meetings, or all remote through March 31st, 2025, without any restrictions on it. After that, we don't know. The COVID emergency orders and the orders, the temporary provisions that the legislature made to open meeting law do expire in 2025.
That's right.
But for now, there's several options here listed. Continue the hybrid model, would allow remote participation by counselors as needed per updated rules and acceptance of public comment by remote participation. We could also adopt a schedule that would call for a mix of hybrid / all remote meetings, or we can do all remote. It is my understanding that we don't vote on this, rather that it is the council president that makes the decision. That's how Jim functioned, or are we going to vote on something?
It's usually been by consensus, like the.
Yeah.
But Jim has presented proposals in the past, so, and then those, it's not wrong to vote on them, but I don't think they've actually usually formally voted.
Right. Okay, so we have some options here. So why don't we hear from folks about their thoughts on which is the best format moving forward. And I'll just say, there's like, for example, last year, in the summer, we met all remote, and that helped to facilitate people's travel schedules. I know that when some of us are in person and some of us are remote, it can be more difficult for the remote people especially to, like, who's raising their hand. It doesn't feel, it can be not as easy to have that, the recognition. And so sometimes an all remote can be easier for everyone if a lot of people are going to be remote. So I'd love to hear people's thoughts. Councilor Elkins.
I think the hybrid that we have been doing has been working out very well. I appreciate the flexibility that it gives those of us, especially those of us with kids, to if we need to make an adjustment. It's turned out that I haven't had to. I don't think I've had to do that, but I have been very grateful that there have been a few times I was thought, I might have to attend remotely, and I personally like very much that we did all remote during the summer for a couple of months. That was helpful. That being said, there is, back in the old days, if you went on vacation, you got a vacation from council too, and which I guess I would just say we all should feel able to empower ourselves to do what we need to do to take care of mind and body and spirit and family if we need to take reasonable time off.
That's not your time. Keep going.
God, Eric. So anyway, I think it's been working well, and I appreciate the option. So.
I would just like,
Councilor Dubs.
yeah, thank you. I'd just like to take into consideration that sometimes I might not be able to make it because of there's ice on the street, on the sidewalks or on the streets. Because, you know, anything due to like inclement weather might prevent me from coming here. So I think the hybrid, you know, I guess that would be what I would prefer. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Labarge.
Thank you. I'm looking at hybrid. I have to agree with Jeremy. Weather is another problem of driving, and also with family issues, with medical problems. And that is serious here. And I know I had talked with Senator Joe Comperford in regards to the law. And all counselors could go into Zooming if they wanted to, but the council president would have to come here and run the meeting. That's what I was told. But anyways, I like what we did during the summer to come to city council and have our city council meetings here for the 2 months of July and August. I thought that was awesome. Also, we do have counselors who work out of town or could use their computers and do the Zooming. And I think that needs to be looked at very, very carefully here. And also, like Councilor Elkins was stating, even with Councilor Miori, they all have families. We all have families. We have ailing, you know, partners and so forth. And to me, I think the choice that I would want would be my preference of Zooming when I needed it. Definitely when I needed it. But in the summer, I think it's great that we do it for the months of July and August and come to city council. But I just think that this type of a schedule would be a good schedule for everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilor Rothenberg.
I just want to say that I think Jeremy being able to make it here is non-negotiable. That's got to be hybrid for the counselors, and I think it's non-negotiable for the public. I think they need to be able to access us however they can. So hybrid for both.
Thank you. Any other input? Well, I would just add that there's also the question of COVID or other public health concerns, and that I would like to be in consultation with our health commissioner, and to, if there's advice that says, you know, we should mask, we should distance, that we follow that, or that we should go to all remote. But otherwise, I agree with the meeting in a hybrid format and going for all remote in July and August. Sounds like a great plan for me, and I wonder if there's consensus on that. I saw Councilor Elkins and then Councilor Rothenberg.
I was going to move that we adopt the hybrid format, if it's something to be voted on, right? So.
And would you also include the provision that we meet remotely in July and August?
For sure.
Okay, so that motion is made by Councilor Elkins.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilor Perry. The motion, the motion is to adopt the hybrid format for both councilors and the public, except that during the months of July and August, that we meet all remote. And Councilor Rothenberg.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary that we make it. If we have the option to be hybrid, we're just going to lock out our constituents that don't have access to internet, which is a lot of my constituents at Salvo House.
City council of the both.
So you mean constituents who could come here?
Who could come in person but can't access us online. I think if you have the option to not be here as counselors, you're not impeded at all by those of us who can be here, still being here and still broadcasting it in person.
Okay. Others like to speak to the motion on the floor? Councilor Labarge.
I do not understand what Councilor Elkins was voting on here, making a recommendation.
Yeah, I'll be happy to clarify. So Councilor Elkins made a motion that we meet in a hybrid format, both here in person or remotely if we would like to, and that both for counselors and members of the public, except during the months of July and August, when we will meet only on Zoom.
Only 2 months out of the year on Zooming, that's it?
No, only 2 months as, so, what we
All of
did,
us
what we
together.
did this last term.
That's what I was
basically.
saying.
Yes.
Before.
Yeah.
July and August, we attended city council meetings here.
No, this year, no, this term, or this last year, we attended by Zoom only. We were all remote in July and August.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Tired.
Me too.
Other counselors? Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and seeing no other comment, we can take a roll call on that motion. Right, we could take a voice vote. I think there might be an objection, which is fine.
Not a charter objection.
Right.
Can you explain that motion again that we're voting on?
Yes, so for all of the year except July and August, we will meet in this format, meaning that those who want to will be in person, and those who wish to participate on Zoom, whether they're counselors or members of the public, can
Yep.
do that. In July and August, we will meet remotely. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions?
Objection.
Yep, Councilor Rothenberg. So it passes 8-1 with Councilor Rothenberg opposed. Attorney Seawald, as we know, is not able to be with us tonight for the open meeting law, conflict of interest, and public records law presentation, but he will join us, I believe, on the 18th. Yeah. And of course, if anyone has any questions about those really important issues, you can feel free to reach out to him. He's always willing to and able to talk to folks and give you guidance. It's important to get guidance before you take an action if you're not sure. So then we move on to 24.002, in order to set the date and time of the 2024-25 City Council meetings. A single reading only is required. And we'll look at those dates. So they are generally the first and third Thursdays, with the exception of this meeting, and then in July and August, it's the second Thursday and in July, rather, the second Thursday and the third Thursday in August. Is that right, Paula?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I wanted to note that there are some conflicts with some holidays. So Rosh Hashanah conflicts with the October 3rd, 2024 meeting, and Yom Kippur with the October 2nd, 2025 meeting. So we can choose to adjust those now, or we can, as it gets closer, we can change them. I think, Laura, you suggested just moving them back by 2 days, so that would be the October 3rd meeting would be on Tuesday, October 1st, and the October 2nd, 2025 meeting would be on Tuesday, September 30th, which does not conflict with holidays as far as I'm aware.
I would move for approval of the calendar with those two changes as suggested by Councilor Jarrett.
Second.
A motion made by Councilor Moulton, seconded by Councilor Rothenberg, to adopt the calendar with October 3rd, 2024 moved to October 1st, and October 2nd, 2025 moved to September 30th. Discussion on adopting? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections?
Because I don't know if I'm going to have change of appointments or anything. So, and I think, has a new calendar come out for the holidays anyways?
Yep, the calendars are available now for both those years. And if we can certainly discuss future dates in the future, but you are objecting.
Pardon?
You are objecting for the record.
No, it's okay now.
It's okay, okay. So, then 24 point, see what Counselor Nash had two computers because it was always going back and forth. 24.002, in order to set the date and time of the 2024-2025 City Council meetings, is passed unanimously. So that brings us to administrative items. City Council committee preferences is listed. So all of you have received the document where you'll rank in order the 7, but there are 7 different committees and multi-member bodies that we serve on. And so rank those in order, and if give them or email them to Laura. I am planning on working on that. It's a tough math problem and people problem, so planning on working on that over the weekend, so I should have the results, the assignments by then. And then our next step is that for each of those 4 committees, we hold an organizational meeting similar to this one, where we'll do those similar things. We'll elect a chair and a vice chair. We'll set the date and time. Any questions about that?
I have not yet.
Counselor Dubs.
So I'm sorry, I keep speaking before you call on me. I'm sorry about that. I haven't handed my preferences in yet, and I was wondering if that's okay if I do that like later. If that's okay that I didn't do that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, do get them in as soon as you can, because
Okay.
there's a lot of work to be done.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions or administrative items? Okay, and then there are no information requests or committee study requests on the agenda. There's no new business on the agenda, so that brings us to
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion made by Counselor Perry, seconded by Counselor Elkins to adjourn. There is no discussion on adjournment, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? We are adjourned.